Hi everyone, so we're going to start off oceanography by talking about different types of marine environments, and we're going to start here by talking about different coastal environments, so the ocean life that is found near the coast. So the first one we're going to think about are sandy coasts, so beaches, things like that. So these coasts are very unstable, so sand constantly shifts and moves. So this is a very harsh and unstable environment because of all of that movement that we're going to see here on the beach. There's a surf zone that is constantly moving up and down with the tide. So obviously we know that tides happen in the ocean. We have high tides and low tides, and this is actually and it attracts a large number of fish and diving birds to these different zones here. So sandy beaches are older than rocky beaches because we know that the sand is going to be created by this weathering and erosion of the rocks that are around there. So sandy beaches are very, very old environments in comparison to rocky beaches because we see that fine sand had to come from that weathering and erosion here. So it's a good idea, after each system, we're going to think about some different types of adaptations. So adaptations are changes that organisms make to survive in an environment. So this is adaptations. So think of some different adaptations that organisms who would live on a sandy beach would need to make to survive in this environment. So different changes that they need to do for that. Okay. Next one that we're going to look at is rocky coasts. So like in comparison, sandy beaches, these are going to be younger. So they provide a more stable environment. We're going to see a lot less movement because they're much heavier and stabilized than the sand that we see on beaches. We're going to see different things like coves, different crevices, and tunnels in which different marine organisms can hide. A lot of times with rocky coasts, we're going to see little tiny snails and periwinkles that are going to be able to suction to these rocks to survive. So it's divided into 3 tidal zones, depending on how high or low the tides are. And in summer, these are really good places for nesting and breeding for many different types of marine birds. So if we take a look, we can see all these different habitats that we see here, see all these little periwinkles that are there, this starfish. We can see there's a bunch of sea urchins in this rocky coast, different types of shellfish and things like that that are going to be able to survive in these areas because it is a more stable environment. So again, let's think of a list of adaptations that these organisms are going to need to survive in these environments. Remember, with rocky coasts, we're going to see high and low tides. So that means that the water levels are going to change drastically in these types of environments. The next environment we're going to talk about are coral reefs. I'm sure you've heard a lot about these, but these are actually considered a coastal environment here because they are found pretty near different types of coasts, though they aren't like a beach that is completely underwater. So if we look, there's most of our biodiversity in all of our marine environments are going to be located in these coral reefs. So there are a lot of different things that are going to live here due to the nature of those coral reefs. These are found in tropical and subtropical regions of the world and located in shallow waters. So that's really important. That's what defines it as our coastal habitat here. but our coral reefs found in tropical zones means that they're going to be found around the equator, because that's where we're going to see those tropical and subtropical temperatures and climates. So if you take a look, there are actually some coral reefs right off the coast of Florida here that are around us, right in this little pocket of Central America and South America. But ones that we're going to see mostly is over here by Australia and the Philippine Islands. This is actually where, off the coast of Australia and New Zealand, is where we're going to find the Great Barrier Reef, so the probably most commonly known coral reef. So only 0.2% of the total ocean area is coral reefs. It's a really small percent, but 25% of all marine species are going to live in these reefs. So it makes it a very populated area for such a small area of the world. So reefs are built from the seafloor up. So we're going to see to the surface of coral polyps. So polyps are small animals that float around until they land. So once they land, they can attach and reproduce and make a colony. So it's important to remember that coral is a living animal. It's a living organism. So they float around, and when they attach, they reproduce and make this colony, make this coral. As they grow, they make a limestone shell, which is why coral is very, very hard and rough, around themselves, which creates the coral structure we're familiar with. So how reefs build? They build from the seafloor up to the surface, so they grow upwards by coral polyps. Remember, coral is a living organism. They are animals, and they are going to build up. So reefs will go up to the surface, but will not grow out of the water. So they do require water. They need to stay underneath the water to survive. So here we can see some of the different animals. These are our polyps here that are going to start growing and developing into our coral. So we can see all these different little ones that are starting from the bottom to grow up. Okay, so each coral is unique in shape and color. So yes, they can be the same colors, but it might not be the same as something around it. Corals are extremely productive, so this means they're going to make a lot of food for other animals, which is why we're going to see that high population of animals in this small area of the ocean. Reefs are also extremely fragile, so they're easily broken, which is not the best thing in the world, which is why we see a lot of our coral reefs sometimes being destroyed. One of the most famous ones I'm sure you heard of is Australia's Great Barrier Reef. It is the largest natural-made structure and contains over 1,500 species of fish. So again, high diversity in these areas of coral reefs, 25% of the entire marine world. Many reefs are actually in danger of being destroyed, and because of a few different things here. So overfishing is one, diving, so people who are scuba diving or snorkeling in those areas can be bad. Pollution is going to be a big one. Just in general, if there's a lot of pollution in the area, that coral is not going to be able to grow, and that's going to cause that reef to die. And then last one is poor handling of education in public. So it's really important to educate people about these different ecosystems, because sometimes they think, oh, coral's really hard, you can get injured from it. But it's actually very fragile. So these different education tools are going to be really, really important for maintaining the populations in the coral reefs. Because 25% of all marine life is found in these reefs, it's going to be really important, because if we lose that 25%, it's really going to highly affect the other animals that are found in the oceans. Okay, so again, thinking about a list of adaptations that organisms might need in the coral reefs to survive here. So that is where we're going to stop for today. We're going to continue talking about different types of coastal environments here, and then after that we'll get into different ocean environments.